For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Ivor Price discusses their book titled For the Love of Land, Being a Farmer in South Africa Today. So Ivor, the book addresses the most important aspect in our country, the land. Can you tell us why you decided to document the stories of farmers in South Africa?
I had the opportunity to present a television show featuring farmers, in which I traveled more than 100,000 kilometers throughout the country to interview farmers as part of the series. But that made me realize that agriculture is so much bigger than what I originally portrayed on TV. It's also much more diverse. I never knew, for example, until a couple of years ago, that black people could farm. I never knew that women could farm. And we felt that it is important to reflect the diversity of the people bringing our food on a daily basis.
Yeah, true. And this book, as you've just said, addresses the issue of land. Can you tell us why this document should be important to all South Africans?
As South Africans, it's become so easy for us to point fingers to farmers. Our land reform debate, for example, has become so messy that our farmers are getting much of the blame when actually it's separate issues. Most of the farmers in this country are producing food. We need farmers 3 times a day, and we often do not show them the respect that they need. So I think it's important for South Africans to realize who these people are, and they're not as stereotypical as we grew up to believe in a divided country such as South Africa.
Even though you were documenting people from different backgrounds, what would you say is common in all the stories you documented?
It's not easy being a farmer. In fact, I think it's a hell of a difficult job that I wouldn't want. It's also an ungrateful job, because often as a farmer you're producing food for people who do not like you, based on our history, maybe based on their perceptions of who you are. Politically, our farmers are insulted almost on a daily basis. Economically, it's tough out there. They are barely surviving. Plus we have a drought, but the one thing they have in common is their absolute commitment to this land. I mean, they're planting seeds in the ground that might produce a profit generations later. And also they're absolutely committed to this country, despite what most people would want to make us believe.
In the book, the story of the accidental farmer, a Muslim woman by the name of Wadia, stood out for me. Can you briefly share her story?
So, Wadia Japie is one of the biggest farmers on the Cape Flats. In fact, if you live in the Western Cape, there's a big chance that you are eating the eggs produced on her farm on the Cape Flats by the Japie family. She farms with her husband and son. I grew up not too far from there, about 20 kilometers from there, and I never knew that the Cape Flats, besides the gangsterism and all the ugly things going on there, also had the amazing story of agriculture. And in Wadia's story, what is quite moving, she says, it's no big deal being a woman farmer. It's no big deal being a Muslim woman farmer. Women have always done these things. In fact, in Africa, throughout Africa, the typical farmer has always been a woman. The typical South African, if you close your eyes and you ask who are the farmers, would probably say a white Afrikaans male. But most of the investment at the moment is going into the development of female farmers. So in 10 years from now, the average person producing our food will probably be like a Wadia Japie, a female farmer.
The story of Mr. Dex also has a lesson to learn. He was ordered to leave his home after impregnating his girlfriend at the age of 15, but he managed to become a farmer. Can you tell us more about his story?
Werner Dirks is one of the most inspirational people I meet. No, let's say that. Okay. Werner Dirks is one of the most inspirational South Africans I've ever met. He's the son of laborers. Both his parents were farm workers, agricultural workers. He comes from a long line of agricultural workers. Then he impregnated a girl when he was 15 years old. His father kicked him out, saying there can only be one man in the house, as it goes in our families. But that was a turning point in his life. He took that family, the Dirks family, from being laborers for decades into actually owning the land, to actually no longer sitting on the back of the bakkie, as he recalls it, but now sitting in front of the bakkie, where often the dog would sit in front, and as an agricultural worker, his father and himself would have to sit at the back. His story is a story about human triumph, about one person that survived and flourished against all odds, that decided, I'm going to be the change maker in my family. And I love how he says it changed not only his life, but the life of his own parents, his community. How he's now inspiring people who thought they could be nothing more than agricultural workers, farm workers, that they can actually be farmers in their own right.
Our government is on a mission to expropriate land without compensation. It was interesting to read that this is not a new thing from the story of Mr. Prinsloo in Queenstown. Is this a concern for most farmers?
Most of our farmers are concerned about the expropriation of land, especially our commercial farmers. But the reality is that most farmers in this country do not own land at the moment. They are on long-term leases of government, for example. Peter Prinsloo is a dentist by profession and also farmer in the Queenstown area, and it's quite hard-moving in the story. He describes the first time they were expropriated as a family in the previous regime. And he describes it as almost a party, you know, this big bazaar, lots happening, stuff's being sold. And only late in his life, he realizes that his family was actually being expropriated from the farm by his government. And the Prinsloo family went through that twice in their lifetime. And now he says they have great relationships with the local people than ever before. In fact, having been through that experience twice in his life has given him inspiration to understand his role in agriculture a little bit better, to understand his role as a white Afrikaans commercial farmer, and his responsibility towards agriculture and the surrounding communities a lot better.
That was Ivor speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about their book titled For the Love of Land, Being a Farmer in South Africa Today.